and cried, "Awake! Already the pale moon washes the trees with silver, and the wave creeps grey and chilly upon this sandy dune. The croaking frogs are out, and from the cave the nightjar shrieks, the fluttering bats repass, and the brown stoat with hollow flanks creeps through the dusty grass. Nay, though thou art a god, be not so coy, for in yon stream there is a little reed that often whispers how a lovely boy lay with her once upon a grassy mead, who when his cruel pleasure he had done, spread wings of rustling gold, and soared aloft into the sun. Be not so coy. The laurel trembles still with great Apollo's kisses, and the fir, whose clustering sisters fringe the seaward hill, hath many a tale of that bold ravisher, whom men call Boreas, and I have seen the mocking eyes of Hermes through poplar's silvery sheen. Even the jealous naiads call me fair, and every morn a young and ruddy swain woos me with apples and with locks of hair, and seeks to soothe my virginal disdain by all the gifts the gentle wood nymphs love. But yesterday he brought me an Irish plumaged dove, with little crimson feet, with its store of 7 spotted eggs, the cruel lad hath stolen from the lofty sycamore at daybreak, when her amorous comrade had flown off in search of berry juniper, which most they love, the fretful wasp, that earliest vintager of the blue grapes, hath not persistency so constant as this simple shepherd boy. For my poor lips his joyous purity and laughing sunny eyes might well decoy a dryad from her oath to Artemis. For very beautiful is he, his mouth was made to kiss, his argent forehead, like a rising moon over the dusky hills of meeting brows, is crescent-shaped. The hot and Tyrian noon leads from the myrtle grove no goodlier spouse for Cytherea. The first silky down fringes his blushing cheeks, and his young limbs are strong and brown, and he is rich and fat, and fleecy herds of bleating sheep upon his meadows lie, and many an earthen bowl of yellow curds in his homestead for the feverish fly to swim and drown in. The pink clover mead keeps its sweet store for him, and he can pipe on oaten reed. And yet I love him not. It was for thee I kept my love. I knew that thou wouldst come to rid me of this pallid chastity, thou fairest flower of the flowerless foam, of all the white age and brightest star of ocean's azure heavens, where the mirrored planets are. I knew that thou wouldst come, for when at first the dry wood burgeoned, and the sap of spring swelled in my green and tender bark, or burst to myriad multitudinous blossoming, which mocked the midnight with its mimic moons, that did not dread the dawn. The first, the thrush's rapturous tune startled the squirrel from its granary, and cuckoo flowers fringed the narrow lane. Through my young leaves a sensuous ecstasy crept like new wine, and every mossy vein throbbed with the fitful pulse of amorous blood, and the wild winds of passion shook my slim stems in maidenhood. The trooping fawns at evening came and laid their cool black noses on my lowest boughs, and on my topmost branch the blackbird made a little nest of grasses for his spouse, and now and then a twittering wren would light on a thin twig, which hardly bare the weight of such delight. I was the Attic shepherd's trysting place. Beneath my shadow Amaryllis lay, and round my trunk would laughing Daphnis chase the timorous girl, till tired out with play as she felt his hot breath stir her tangled hair, and turned, and looked, and fled no more from such delightful snare. Then come away into my ambuscade, where clustering woodbine weaves a canopy for amorous pleasance, and the rustling shade of Paphian myrtle seems to sanctify the dearest rites of love. There in the cool and green recesses of its farthest depth there is a pool, the ouzels haunt, the wild bees' pasturage, for round its rim great creamy lilies float, through their flat leaves and verdant anchorage, each cup a white-sailed, golden-laden boat, steered by a dragonfly. Be not afraid to leave this wan and waved-kissed shore. Surely this place was made for lovers such as we. The Cyprian queen, one arm round her boyish paramour, strays often there at eve, and I have seen the moon strip off her misty vestiture for young Endymion's eyes. Be not afraid. The panther feet of Dian never tread that secret glade. Nay, if thou willst, back to the beating brine, back to the boisterous billow let us go, and walk all day beneath the hyaline, huge vault of Neptune's watery portico, and watch the purple monsters of the deep sport in ungainly play, and from his lair keen as Cepheus leap. For if my mistress find me lying here, she will not ruth or gentle pity show, but lay her boar spear down, and with austere relentless fingers string the cornel bow, and draw the feathered notch against her breast, and loose the arched coy. Ay, even now upon the quest I hear her hurrying feet. Awake, awake, thou laggard in love's battle! Once at least let me drink deep of passion's wine, and slake my parched being with the nectarous feast which even gods affect. Oh, come, love, come, still we have time to reach the cavern of thine azure home. Scarce had she spoken when the shuddering trees shook, and the leaves divided, and the air grew conscious of a god, and the grey seas crawled backward, and a long and dismal blare blew from some tasselled horn. A sleuth-hound bayed, and like a flame a barbed reed flew whizzing down the glade. And where the little flowers of her breast just break into their milky blossoming, this murderous paramour, this unbidden guest, pierced and struck deep in horrid chambering, and ploughed a bloody furrow with its dart, and dug a long red road, and cleft with winged death her heart. Sobbing her life out with a bitter cry, on the boy's body fell the dryad maid, sobbing for her incomplete virginity, and raptures unenjoyed, and pleasures dead, and all the pain of things unsatisfied, and the bright drops of crimson youth crept down her throbbing side. Ah, pitiful it was to hear her moan, and very pitiful to see her die, ere she had yielded up her sweets, or known the joy of passion, that dread mystery, which not to know is not to live at all, and yet to know is to be held in death's most deadly thrall. But, as it happed, the queen of Cytherea, who with Adonis all night long had lain, within some shepherd's hut in Arcady, on team of silver doves and gilded wain was journeying Paphos' ward, high up afar from mortal ken, between the mountains and the morning star. And when low down she spied the hapless pair, and heard the Oread's faint despairing cry, whose cadence seemed to play upon the air as though it were a viol, hastily she bade her pigeons fold each straining plume, and dropped to earth and reached the strand, and saw their dolorous doom. For as a gardener, turning back his head to catch the last notes of the linnet mows, with careless scythe too near some flower bed, and cuts the thorny pillar of the rose, and with the flower's loosened loveliness strews the brown mould, or as some shepherd lad in wantonness, driving his little flock along the mead, treads down two daffodils, which side by side have lured the ladybird with yellow breed, and made the gaudy moth forget its pride, treads down their brimming golden chalices, under light feet which were not made for such rude ravages. Or as a schoolboy, tired of his book, flings himself down upon the reedy grass, and plucks two water lilies from the brook, and for a time forgets the hourglass, then wearies of their sweets and goes his way, and lets the hot sun kill them. Even so those lovers lay. And Venus cried, "It is dread Artemis, whose bitter hand hath wrought this cruelty, or else that mightier maid, whose care it is to guard her strong and stainless majesty upon the hill Athenian. Alas, that they who love so well unloved into death's house shall pass." So with soft hands she laid the boy and girl in the great golden wagon tenderly, her white throat, whiter than a moony pearl, just threaded with a blue vein's tapestry, had not yet ceased to throb, and still her breast swayed like a wind-stirred lily in ambiguous unrest. And then each pigeon spread its milky van, the bright car soared into the dawning sky, and like a cloud the aerial caravan passed over the Aegean's silent lie, till the faint air was troubled with the song from the wan mouths that call on bleeding Thamus all night long. But when the doves had reached their wonted goal, where the wide stare of orbed marble dips its snow into the sea, her fluttering soul just shook the trembling petals of her lips and passed into the void, and Venus knew that one fair maid the less would walk amid her retinue, and bade her servants carve a cedar chest with all the wonder of this history, within whose scented womb their limbs should rest, where olive trees make tender the blue sky on the low hills of Paphos, and the fawn pipes in the noonday, and the nightingale sings on till dawn. Nor failed they to obey her hest, and ere the morning bee had stung the daffodil with tiny fretful spear, or from its lair the waking stag had leapt across the rill, and roused the ousel, or the lizard crept athwart the sunny rock, beneath the grass their bodies slept. And when day brake, within that silver shrine, fed by the flames of cressets tremulous, Queen Venus knelt and prayed to Proserpine, that she, whose beauty made death amorous, should beg a guerdon from her pallid lord, and let desire pass across dread Charon's icy ford. In melancholy moonless Acheron, far from the goodly earth and joyous day, where no spring ever buds, nor ripening sun weighs down the apple trees, nor flowery May checkers with chestnut blooms the grassy floor, where thrushes never sing, and piping linnets mate no more, there by a dim and dark Lethaean well, young Charmides was lying. Wearily he plucked the blossoms from the asphodel, and with its little rifled treasury strewed the dull waters of the dusky stream, and watched the white stars founder. And the land was like a dream when, as he gazed into the watery glass and through his brown hair's curly tangles scanned his own wan face, a shadow seemed to pass across the mirror, and a little hand stole into his, and warm lips timidly brushed his pale cheeks and breathed their secret forth into a sigh. Then turned he round his weary eyes, and saw, and ever nigher still their faces came, and nigher ever did their young mouths draw, until they seemed one perfect rose of flame, and longing arms around her neck he cast, and felt her throbbing bosom, and his breath came hot and fast, and all his hoarded sweets were hers to kiss, and all her maidenhood was his to slay, and limb to limb in long and rapturous bliss their passion waxed and waned. Oh, why, essay to pipe again of love, too venturous reed, enough, that your Eros laughed upon that flowerless mead. Too venturous poesy, oh, why essay to pipe again of passion, fold thy wings, o'er daring Icarus, and build thy lay sleep hidden in the lyre's silent strings, till thou hast found the old Castilian rill, or from the Lesbian waters plucked drowned Sappho's golden quill. Enough, that he whose life had been a fiery pulse of sin, a splendid shame, could in the loveless land of Hades glean one scorching harvest from those fields of flame, where passion walks with naked unshod feet, and is not wounded. Ah, enough that once their lips could meet, in that wild throb, when all existences seem narrowed to one single ecstasy, which dies through its own sweetness and the stress of too much pleasure, ere Persephone had bade them serve her by the even throne of the pale god who in the fields of Enna loosed her zone.